All right, let's switch gears. We're still talking about the NFL, but since we have lines to bet on, we're going to look at just that. Spike's already shaking his head because he knows that he's channeling his inner degenerate right now.
That's not exactly it. I'm not going to bother with that. No, I'm actually playing Overwatch right now while we're talking. So
I'm so glad you can multitask. You're not good at either, but you're mediocre at both at the same time. Not good at sports betting or Overwatch, but you're going to try them both at the same time. So here we go.
Accurate.
All right. Let's start with the primetime opener. Houston at Kansas City. Houston is getting a dime from the champs here in Arrowhead. The place is going to be rocking. Again, let's preface this all by saying that these are going to happen with fans. So that obviously, to me, Token, is going to be a factor. Fan and home field advantage could be huge this season if there isn't any. I would imagine home field advantage has got to go by the wayside.
Oh, and that's something to consider if you're early betting on too.
Yeah, I mean, how do you take those factors into account? The only thing you can really take factors is there's probably going to be no injuries, and the weather in September in Kansas City will be fine, most likely.
Yeah, maybe a slightly breezy, a little humid, and pretty warm.
How much, Spike, do you think we could have a lot of road dogs covering or road favorites covering this year if we don't have fans?
I mean, we'll certainly see an uptick, and especially teams in the AFC and NFC West when they're going into Kansas City and Seattle, respectively, because those are the two where the home field advantage really means something. You know, you can't really put home field advantage on like
maybe Lambeau Giants. Too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Lambeau's another one. That's a very good point. Although I don't really know that division is as up for grabs as like the NFC West or would be.
Well, the Chargers might be benefiting by the fact that all the fans in the stands won't be opposing fans this year.
That's true. That is definitely something to consider. There's actually an interesting spot in the Patriots schedule where they have the Chargers and the Rams, like the Chargers on a Sunday night, the Rams on a Thursday night that same week.
Yeah, I assume they're going to stay here.
Yeah, so they'll stay West Coast, and it'll be interesting to see if they allow fans in the stands, how many of those New England fans go out to those games.
Well, that's the question I had before we dive into these lines, Spike. Do you have any interest in seeing the Patriots on the West Coast or Tom Brady here in Las Vegas? Are you going to, if you're allowed to go to those games, are you going to make an effort?
If money wasn't a factor, I would definitely be interested in seeing Tom Brady in Las Vegas. The problem is I think that ticket – nosebleeds are probably going to go for about half a mortgage a piece. So that has me slightly concerned about affordability, especially when we're talking about a brand new stadium. I think if I'm that interested in seeing the stadium, I'm just going to wait for UNLV football to get in there and watch one of those games.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah, especially.
No, if I had to choose between those two, I would agree with you, Spike. I mean, I'd rather see Brady here in Las Vegas than Patriots on the road. But yeah, I'm a Lions fan. I make stupid choices.
Well, speaking of new stadiums, I'm pretty sure the Chargers and the Rams move in. That's this year, right?
Yes.
Is it this year?
Inglewood, I think the new Rams place is, or I guess it's Rams and Chargers place is open this year.
I believe it is.
Pretty sure Sunday Night Football is what is it? The Dallas and the Rams, correct?
Correct.
So I think, they're going to open up that new stadium on Sunday Night Football.
For some reason, I thought it was next season, but yeah, I guess you're right. Huh.
But laying 10, like I said, so many factors in this. Laying 10 points, I understand they're the champs. If you're looking solely based on last season, I mean, Houston got up against them at home with fans.
Yeah,
a playoff game, and maybe this year they remember to play the second half.
Well, maybe, but I mean, it's still a Bill O'Brien-led team, so you can't really count on them to do that.
I like the plus.
Yeah, I mean, potential.
I mean, we're not making bets here, boys. We're just talking about the early lines.
Yeah, I'm trying to think out loud about Kansas City and whether or not I trust the off-season moves that they've made, especially having like $800 left on the salary cap. And
well, they've literally lost no one.
I think that's either very good for them or very bad for them, because it either means that they're keeping the team intact, or now every team has every piece of film, so there's going to be no surprises and they'll be able to defend against them better. Because we see that all the time, where championship teams keep the team together and then they just can't put it together. They finish second or third in the division the following year. Yeah. It's not because they lost talent, it's because other teams figured them out.
Well, Token, a big question right now is with these early week one lines, have sportsbook operators taken into the account that we might not have fans?
I think slightly, but not a lot right now.
Well, that's the question. I mean, are these numbers, what are these numbers based on?
I believe fans? More on with fans than not.
So where do these numbers go if it's ruled, in your opinion, where do these numbers go if it's ruled that fans are not allowed to be a part of the experience on Sundays?
Probably most teams or most home ones would probably drop by 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, Spike, I got a question. I mean, if you feel that these games aren't going to be played with fans and you think that these numbers are going to get tighter, you fire now? Because if these games are scheduled to play with fans, you already got the number here, and I would imagine the number gets better for you if we don't have butts in the seats.
You would think, but I mean, it's such a big assumption because, like I said, there's certain stadiums where I think that applies a lot more than others. So I think you have to be careful, and you really want to make sure that if you're grabbing those numbers now because you feel that they might go against your favor once they announce whether or not fans are in the stands, it's really only the certain games I think you got to worry about. Those certain, the Kansas Cities and Seattles of the world.
I would say if you like a road dog and you like the price on them right now, or the plus the points right now, I think now would be the time to fire, because I mean, if they announce limited fans or no fans in attendance, it's going to probably drop.
Well, that and while the iconic ones are correct, Kansas City, Seattle, Green Bay, you put 65,000 loud people in Baltimore or in Buffalo, those matter too, in my opinion. And I think, like I said, Cleveland's getting 9 against the Ravens week 1. The Jets are getting 6. Again, you still have to play the game, but there are some places, Atlanta's a dome that, they had fans and pumped in crowd noise for a long time. Yeah. They can't pump in crowd noise when they can't pump in anything artificial when there's nothing natural to mesh in with it.
That is a very good point, which I had actually forgotten that Atlanta did that. So thank you for reminding us.
I mean, yes, there are some places like Jacksonville, that you probably don't have to worry about. Miami, where they don't get there till the third quarter. So
Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee might be a little bit more amped up this year, at least in the first few weeks before they fizzle out.
Those fans are going to be excited for that team this year.
I agree. Yeah, I think I have
something to cheer about.
I have them underachieving this year, so we'll see. Miami going to New England. We got a 5.5 point spread here. What about totals? Token, you're a totals guy.
Yeah.
What are crowd factor? Does crowd factor in the totals, especially with field goals? I mean,
I would say so. I mean, I would say the numbers might go down in totals slightly, but not too much if there's no crowd.
Right, but what I'm saying is that kickers, are just aiming at bleachers now.
Yeah, that's got to be like a weird thing. It's
got to be. Is it easier or harder for a kicker who's spent their life, aiming at fans to aim at, empty bleachers? I don't know. Again, that's a psychological thing.
It probably just depends on the kicker and all that. I would say most won't be impacted, but there might be a few that are slightly impacted. And
yeah, I'm wondering how the totals. I mean, 56.5 to start the season.
That would probably go down to about 53 in my mind if there's no fans at all.
So about a field goal difference there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's your first test, Spike. Miami is a 6-point dog traveling into New England.
I mean, I'm anti-New England this year, especially in the first game. I don't think that Stidham is going to be the guy, or at least not right away. So I see him struggling out of the gate, maybe even getting pulled in favor of Hoyer. So Miami plus the points, I think, is pretty good for me. Even in New England, where I know, obviously Belichick is strong there historically, but that's pretty much exclusively with Brady. It's just something to keep in mind. But I think for the most part, that's going to be safe. A safe Miami bet.
Something I'd like to look at, and I'm sure there's a stat for it, or maybe something will come up where I have to do my own manual research here. But I would like to look at over the 20 years of Belichick and Brady, the Matt Castle year, the couple of Garoppolo games, the couple of Brissett games. I'd like to look at their record against the spread without Tom Brady.
Do you include the 2000 season where he had Drew Bledsoe?
Probably not, because isn't that when Brady came in?
No, Brady's first year, he was third string behind Bledsoe and Bishop.
Right, but correct me if he came in at the end of 2000 or 2001?
He came in game 3 of 2001, where the team
then,
started 0-2.
So then I'm going to effectively say the Brady era that he became the starting quarterback.
Gotcha. Okay. Just checking.
I understand. Because that, to me, doesn't define the Belichick-Brady era. That defines the Belichick era just by himself. So
yeah, that's fine.
Cleveland and Baltimore. Baltimore's got a 9-point. They're a 9-point favorite at home. Again, these are hard to. We'll preface all these with fans. No fans are very hard to score. Low total here, 48.5. Not a lot of noise coming out of Cleveland this year after all the shit talking and all the hype we had from the Cleveland Browns last year. I mean, OBJ is still there despite all the trade rumors. They pretty much have everything intact here. They're a solid team if they can put it all together. I mean, Baker Mayfield, kind of a head case, but I would think just based on the fact that, I know it's only April or May now, I guess, but we don't have a lot of chatter out of Baker Mayfield. He was always on Twitter. He was clapping back at Colin Cowherd. I don't really see any of that out of him anymore. Yeah, he does the progressive commercials, but that's it.
Shaving his face throughout the week or throughout the game.
What?
Wasn't there one game last year where he went through the half?
Shaved it after the game. No, he shaved it after.
Or was it after?
Where he looked like a wet bandit.
Yeah.
I remember that game. He had a big old trench coat and his Fu Manchu, and it was like he'd hit rock bottom. It's another one, so much hype on Baltimore. I'll give credit where credit's due with Lamar Jackson, and this team has a ton of weapons, but if you're finding a way to defeat this team, it's running the football and containing Lamar Jackson. Well, the defense is going to have a tough job, but there's two guys in Cleveland's backfield, and Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, who can run the football, and I think that might be a key to covering the spread here in Baltimore.
Yeah, I would agree. Cleveland probably covers. They only lose by about a touchdown. I actually like the over in this game, though.
Oh, that's an interesting point. I actually hadn't been looking at the totals, but that's I think that's pretty fair to look at the over in that game.
Baltimore could almost put up 40 by themselves in this game, in my opinion, and Cleveland could probably put up about 30 even.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have as much faith in Cleveland as you do, but certainly a 40-21 type game isn't out of the realm of possibilities. So.
Well, that plus, I mean, the fact of the matter is, the thing with Cleveland right now is, again, the weapons are there. Mm-hmm. The defense is solid. It's Baker Mayfield. So if we see a Baker Mayfield who's competent, again, maybe playing for his job at this point. I mean, if the Browns are 6-10 this year and Baker Mayfield, shits the bed like he did last year, they may be, if they start out 1-7, they may be looking at the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes as well. So.
Or maybe do you think if Newton's still available come week 3 or something, they start out 0-2, do you think them or like New England would pick up Newton if they think there's still a possibility of them doing well?
I mean, there's always a potential that Newton signs with another team, coming in the middle of the season. But I think Stefanski, as far as Stefanski goes, new coach, new GM, Baker's not their guy. They didn't draft him. Yeah. So I think they may, instead of having to pay another quarterback, they may punt this season if they get off to a 1-5, 1-6 start. Punt this season and just run Baker Mayfield until he's done and get him out of town. Because I mean, he's only in year 3 this year.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous because it feels like he's been in the league for 7 years.
Well, he talks.
Oh yeah.
He talks like he's been in the league for 7 years, so it's. He hasn't backed it up. And I know that he would be around for the 4th year, but they may be able to flip him for God knows what in a bag of chips. But
yeah, like a 3rd-round pick maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Exactly.
The Bears might pick him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially after declining Trubisky's option. They reworked BDN's deal. I don't know, what's the future in that. But you're right. I could see a situation. I don't think New England is that spot, but I could see a situation where a team like Cleveland, whose quarterback is underperforming or goes down, even the fact of like a lot of people have not ruled out a return to Carolina for Cam if Teddy Bridgewater goes down. Now, it's a different offensive scheme. He doesn't know this, so I don't necessarily agree with that. But, a situation where maybe a primetime quarterback goes down and you're, taking a chance on this season, you're going for it. Cam may be – I don't know his ability to learn a playbook fast. NFL playbooks, are kind of complicated depending on which team you play for, but – I could see a situation where he pulls like the Roger Clemens and doesn't get signed till, the trading deadline or something like that. But
wow,
that's just too much not playing football for me to feel comfortable on any team that picks him up.
Yeah, you give him a week to get ready maybe and roll with it.
I mean, sticking with the theme of my outfit today. I mean, if Deshaun Watson goes down week 1, you pick up Cam Newton. Pick up Cam Newton.
That makes a lot of sense to me because I think Cam and what's his name are pretty similar.
Deshaun.
Very similar.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, very similar. I think if Cam Newton's going to get into a team or get on a team prior to the start of the NFL season, it's a backup. Where's he competing? Except maybe Jacksonville. Where's he competing?
Jets.
I don't think so.
I'm sticking with Darnold. I mean, if I'm Adam Gase, I'm sticking with Darnold. I
agree with that. I mean,
I don't know where he's competing for a starting job at.
Yeah, I mean, unless Cincinnati does the unthinkable and they decide that they'd rather save Joe Burrow and let him sit on the bench for a year before they start him.
Nah.
Well, again, if that's the case, Ryan Finley's got experience in the offense. So if you don't mind another shitty season, which Bengals are used to, put Finley.
Yeah,
in.
I mean,
he's cheaper.
Yeah.
You've been gone on 10 plus years almost.
I mean, it's unfortunate that it's May and we're talking about teams preparing to tank.
But I mean, it's the reality of the league, especially when you have somebody as tempting as Trevor Lawrence out there.
Yeah,
it's true. Well, but the thing is, the Bengals wouldn't be tanking for Trevor.
Oh, no, the Bengals wouldn't be, but just about everybody else would. But can you imagine if the Bengals ended up in a situation where they had the number 1 pick overall again?
I think Cleveland did that not too long ago.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking more like
Detroit did it a few years in a row.
Yeah, they get that number 1 pick overall again and again and again. And if they have their quarterback in Joe Burrow, they're not going to want to pick Trevor Lawrence. So why not trade out of the number 1 spot and get something for him?
Sure. That'd be a spot where you would do that. You would find a guy you like, maybe picks 5 through 10.
Yeah, but that again assumes that Joe Burrow comes in and either shits the bed or they don't play him or they decide they want to tank for a second year, which I can't imagine that anybody on that team would go for.
If they're playing Joe Burrow, they're not tanking on purpose.
No. But if he's just shit, then that's something else entirely.
But you could argue if you brought in Cam Newton and left Joe Burrow on the bench, you might not be completely tanking.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about one more game here on the schedule. Which game interests you guys the most from a betting standpoint before we wrap it up here?
Believe it or not, I like the Green Bay Minnesota game.
It's an interesting one for sure. I think for me, it's Indianapolis and Jacksonville. Indianapolis was a road favorite of 7 points. I mean, I know Jacksonville's down, but 7 points to Indy. And who's Indy's quarterback now? Is it still Brissett?
Rivers.
I don't even know.
No, it's Phillip Rivers.
Oh, Phillip Rivers. Yeah,
Yeah. If it was Brissett, I would feel more comfortable because you know what to expect.
Yeah, but I mean, 7 points on a guy that's like, brand new, learning the playbook. The same could be said about Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, but Phillip Rivers ain't Tom Brady.
But is that the difference? I mean, is it strictly pedigree? Because I mean, Phillip Rivers, whether you like him or not, is going to be in the Hall of Fame, and obviously Tom Brady is going to be in the Hall of Fame too. But obviously, 6 rings, 9 appearances. If you put, again, you can play the what if game. If you put Phillip Rivers, could he do the same thing? Maybe, maybe not. But Phillip Rivers, a Hall of Fame quarterback, and we're sitting here, we have doubts. You'd rather have the backup.
I would, yeah.
All that being said, with that Jacksonville game, it's crazy. I would love – Westgate's got him at 8.5 as far as Jacksonville being an 8.5-point dog. I would love to just take 8.5, but what's the morale of this team after the offseason? I mean, you got your star defensive end fighting with your owner. You traded Ramsey. You traded Bouye. I mean, are these guys literally just chess pieces in the rebuilding scheme? What, if Gardner Minshew gets better, he may be able to save this franchise. It's so weird.
Yeah, and what happens with Fournette after this year too? I mean,
well, it sounds like he's probably gone. He might even be gone by the trade deadline, especially if this team's 2-5. I don't know what the motivation is, for a lot of these guys. So that gives me pause. I probably, gun to my head, would still take the 8.5 at that point, but that's what gives me pause with that as far as, dropping money right now.
I would think I would take the under. I think that's the safer play instead of the spread.
At 46.5?
Yeah, I think that's a little too high on this one. I mean, you got a new quarterback in a regime that's pretty good, but who knows how much he's going to be learning this playbook, learning the system, learning how different wide receivers run their routes and all that come week 1. And it's going to be probably a little sloppy game, like 21-14, something like that.
You talking about the Jacksonville game?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about your Minnesota and Green Bay? What do you like about that one?
I like Green Bay in this one. I do believe they are the better team, and especially if fans aren't going to be in attendance or minimal. I mean,
Minnesota's another one of those home field advantage stadiums too.
Yeah, I do like Minnesota's defense in this one, but overall, I mean, Green Bay's can run the ball now. They still have some decent wide receivers. They got Rodgers still. I mean,
yeah, and they were 1 win away from the Super Bowl last year.
Yep. I mean, it's definitely a good team, a very key game early on this season for both teams. But
yeah, the game I'm looking at, 2 games. First one I like is the over in the Tampa Bay New Orleans game. I mean, let's hope we get fireworks week 1 right here. I mean, it's already a series with Tampa Bay and New Orleans, under Jameis Winston and Drew Brees, where we got a ton of overs, and with Ryan Fitzpatrick, we got a ton of overs in this matchup, especially in the Dome. Taking out fans, even better. I mean, both offenses can work with no issues in their headsets.
Which is ridiculous, but I think that's going to be the best case scenario for fans. Not for the owners, but for the fans. I think watching that kind of offense is going to be incredible.
Well, I'm willing to bet, and I don't want to get too off track, I'm willing to bet if we have no fans, the NFL probably have some negotiating power to get more money out of these TV contracts, maybe even if it's on the back end.
I'm sure by that, yeah.
And the other one I like is the last game of week 1, and that's Tennessee and Denver. I like Denver to roll this game. I think Derrick Henry is for regression. I don't like Ryan Tannehill. Yes, he played well enough to keep them moving. Derrick Henry was the beast in the playoffs. I think we see a regression out of them, and I think Denver wins this game 10-14 points. I'm in on Drew Lock. I was in on him before he got drafted. I liked watching him play in Missouri, and I think Denver is going to be a surprise 9 or 10 win team this year.
I would kind of agree with you on that. I mean, their defense is pretty solid. I mean, they got the 200 monster and running back as well with Royce Freeman and what's the other guy's name?
You got Royce Freeman, Phillip Lindsay, and Melvin Gordon. Yeah. You got 3-headed monster.
Oh, yeah, they did get Melvin Gordon. I forgot about that.
Then you got Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and you got a first-round pick last year, Noah Fant. Lock's got the weapons. I think they're a sneaky good team this year. Mm-hmm. They're not gonna compete with KC for the division, but I think they might get one game. I think they might get their home game versus Kansas City this year. Like they might win their home game. So.
I think one of the week 1 matchups that I didn't even I haven't looked at, but I'm looking just at the line right now. It's this Pittsburgh and New York Giants line. With Pittsburgh favored 3.5, and I don't know what to think of that because we don't know what we're going to see out of Big Ben because obviously injury concerns, age, and all that is a concern. We don't know what to make of it, and I still don't know if I trust the young quarterback for the Giants right now. What's his name? Daniel Jones, whatever it is.
Daniel Jones, yeah.
I think it's a very interesting line, very intriguing line. It's probably not one I'm going to lay action on, but definitely one I'm going to watch just out of interest going forward in the season because I think we're going to be able to tell a lot from that game.
That's one where I think the total might be a little too high on as well. I mean, 48 with both these offensives kind of struggling this past year, and even with Big Ben coming back, Barkley was kind of a little iffy before he even got hurt last year, and then
Barkley was a beast last year, and actually I think he missed almost a month, and the Giants were still 7-9 against the spread, again with a quarterback who was learning on the fly. You had the uncertain, the Eli Manning thing. He's going to play, is he not going to play? Daniel Jones finally took over. I'm not saying I'm high on Daniel Jones.
I like Davy Jones better. Davy Jones live.
I'm not saying I'm high on the Giants, but a team who was 7-9 in such disarray without their star running back for a month, 7-9 against the spread. I like them to maybe win this game outright, especially at home. I mean, like you said, Ben Roethlisberger is interesting. Juju had a down year. Ben Roethlisberger, he has time to connect and reset. I mean, he's a professional, so he's gonna probably play fine. But
yeah, I like that kid out of Pittsburgh, the wide receiver Washington.
Yeah,
he looks pretty promising.
Yeah, I mean, I would look for the under in this game. I mean, Pittsburgh's got a really good defense. I would look for a 23-20 kind of game in this one, especially on Monday night. Yeah. Again, totals are going to be weird because not only we may not have fans, play might be sloppy out of the gate too.
Yeah, yes. And I think that's going to especially be the case if, for whatever reason, the preseason gets shortened.
Also true.
While everybody's hoping the season goes off as normal, if there are games to be sacrificed out of abundance of caution from the COVID-19, it's going to be the preseason. And with so many quarterbacks and so many teams, changing up personnel and changing playbooks, changing coaches, they need those preseason games to get better. And if they don't have them, then we're going to see some real bad play, like UFL style play right out of the gate.
You might see increase of turnovers for sure.
But I mean, some of these totals in the 50s, may be hard to get to.
Yeah.
So yeah, especially with bad play. But we'll see. I mean, we've got degenerate action live and in person right now. Well, I guess live and online.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Well, you can drive up to South Point and place your bet.
That's true. I did hear about that.
So
that was pretty interesting to read.
I'm really shocked. I mean, the only thing I can think of that's beneficial for is people who don't have cell phones.
Yes, but I think there are people that want to be in there to see the lines because I think there are a lot of people, maybe they don't, not that they don't have cell phones, but they might not trust them.
I mean, you can't go in. You're literally driving up. So
you're driving through like the valet line or something, and
yeah, you're not driving in. You're not going into the. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
And that could easily change within the next 2 weeks as well.
That's true.
Yeah. Leave it to Jimmy Vaccaro to give you every opportunity to give him your money.
Shut up and take my money.
Pretty much. So. All right, that about wraps it up for this podcast. I want to thank the sponsors, 12 Ounce Sports Radio. I keep calling it radio. It's going to, like I said, it's going to take me a few. 12 Ounce Sports Network. Also want to thank Seat Giant, promo code 12 Ounce Sports for discounted sporting event, concert, and theater tickets. Fat Tees Barbecue. If you're located in the Albuquerque area, you can stop by, give them a holler, get some delicious grub. FatTeesFood.com and ChaiPoker.net. It's one of our main sponsors as well. We appreciate all four of them for supporting us. And any parting words? I've already made the first bet. I did the super teaser already. I'll post that on Twitter.
Ooh, interesting. I've emptied my account on Patriots under 9 wins for the season. Even at minus 125, I still think that they get 6 at best.
Yeah, no bets for me yet, but still plenty of time to go.
Oh yeah, you'll find a way to degen. We have complete confidence in you. Don't worry.
All right, between now. So we'll give ourselves a bet based on tokens since he hasn't made a bet. Between now and the start of the NFL season, over under 1.5 deposits.
For token?
Yeah.
I'm going to say under only because there are so few events going on right now. I think it's going to be hard for him to lose money. But
all right, I'll play the over.
Losing money.
I would say the over is probably more likely.
So I guess I'm laying the favorite. So, all right. Well, we appreciate you guys listening. For Spike, for Token Tony, I am Aaron. We will catch you on the next one.